Yo people, welcome back to another review, and this time we have my Summerslam Night 2 review. And overall, most of the matches were actually good in ring compared to night 1, but the outcomes were pathetic. It felt like they planned all the match, and then the ending they just said, yeah, go out there and just freestyle. Thanks to Triple H's garbage booking, which keeps getting exposed event after event, we're getting a product that is declining. Now, Triple H after night 1, he said, "You haven't seen nothing yet." Now, to all the Americans watching, maybe it's a dialogue problem, maybe because English is my second language, maybe I'm not understanding something, maybe in the UK it means something different when you say you ain't seen nothing yet. I don't know. When someone says that, usually it means there's going to be a huge surprise or there's going to be a lot more better things on the way. It just felt like night 1 wasn't received as well, and Triple H had to gaslight and lie to the fans as usual because he has booked absolute garbage on the way for night 2. Now, this was the first pay-per-view as well. Sorry to be going on a sidetrack, but it was the first pay-per-view that I felt like the commentary was being very preachy and the company's agendas were being pushed very heavy. And I'm not talking about politics, I'm talking about who you should root for. And I'm talking about all of Triple H's favorites were getting this glazy treatment, whether it was Tiffany Stratton, Cody Rhodes, Rhea Ripley. They all get this favoritism thing and it's kind of cringe. I remember when commentary was about adding facts and stats, a lot of information based things. It felt like it was always just a random conversation between friends, and whenever a shock moment happens, there's some sort of hype, and you got like JR's golden lines whenever he'd see something hype. It would just add to the moment in general. Nowadays, when it's commentary, it feels like they're pushing certain narratives such as Cody is the QB1, he's the captain of the company, he's the guy that's going to carry you for the next decade, which is all lies, by the way. I just find it so poor. It feels like commentary is filling into gaps because of the poor storytelling and overselling as well. They love to do this. Michael Cole in particular, he loves to oversell all the reactions to the point where it feels automated instead of genuine. This year alone, for example, Michael Cole has been rinsing, "Oh my god, I think he's dead." If a wrestler was actually dead, the match gets stopped. So what are we doing here? Just stop with this cringe overselling. Anyways, let's get on with these matches. And the first match was Naomi versus Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky for the Women's World Heavyweight Championship. And it was yet another match where we have to hear about the amazing Rhea Ripley. She's the greatest. She's the best of all time. The way she gets this treatment is too crazy. It's kind of Mary Sue-ish. She gets overpushed and it's ridiculous. Everyone glazes it, is what it is, the propaganda's heavy. She is a good wrestler in ring, but she hasn't evolved, and that's my main issue. She hasn't evolved, she doesn't cut good promos, she's always in the championship picture for absolutely no reason. So yeah, that's my only agenda against her. Once she improves, no problem. But she is talented in ring, no doubts about that. Anyways, Naomi, she won the match, but this was a guaranteed banger, I guess, because you have 3 women that actually know how to wrestle, they have good chemistry, all of these things. So it was a good opener for the event. And yeah, it was predictable Naomi was going to win because they had already been teasing the Naomi versus Stephanie Vaquer for Clash in Paris. So it is what it is. I think the match was kind of forced, obviously, but Naomi retained, that's what matters. All of the wrestlers did well, and it is what it is. Next was the 6-man tag team ladder match thing for the WWE SmackDown Championship, and we all predicted it was going to be a good match. Look at all the chemistry, look at all the high flyers with all these weapons. We knew they were going to cook, and it's interesting because none of us actually care about the tag team division, but in that one match alone, they created so much chemistry, so much character, that it makes you wonder what can they do next. But whenever we see them on SmackDown, they are dry, they are boring, they get no time to do anything. So yeah, it was great that we got to see all of them shine. However, after the 5-star match that they delivered, Triple H still manages to mess it up by having the wrong winners. The whole point of this match was because the whole tag team division on SmackDown felt like they couldn't defeat the Wyatt Six in a regular match because there was just way too many members from the Wyatt Six to interfere. Now, the whole point of this match is ideally to have new winners, but why use logic, right? I'm glad people were booing the Wyatt Six as well when they were going up to get the belts. They barely got a pop when they won. They are so forced and they didn't even deserve this push, let alone to beat the Street Profits for the tag team titles. They were irrelevant a few months ago and all of a sudden they just spawn up and win the titles. It doesn't make sense. I personally thought they were going to give it to Andrade and Phoenix because Andrade in particular has been slaving away these last 2 years since he returned and he's got nothing in return, nothing to show for it. So I thought, okay, they're going to give him a little tag team title. No, he gets nothing. His name's not Rhea Ripley. If his name was Andrea Andrapli, he would have got it. If Phoenix was called Tiffenix, he would have won it. But nope. Anyways, the next match was the 150 billionth edition of Becky Lynch versus Lara Valkyria, a feud we've been seeing since April. We've seen tag team matches between them, triple threat matches, all these other types of matches. And as predicted, Becky Lynch won. However, the execution for the ending once again was garbage. The match itself was good, no denying. They did well. Bayley gets involved as predicted, and then she just watches Becky Lynch pin Lara Valkyria, even though she didn't want Becky to win. I don't like, she literally froze for the 2 count, and then when it went to 3, that's when she decided to go in the ring. It was all poorly done, but it is what it is. I'm done with this feud. I don't want to see Becky versus Lara ever again. It was a good feud, but they overplayed it. Now, they'll probably have Bayley feud with Lara, and it is what it is. I don't care at the moment. I do wonder who will face Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental title, however, but I'm just going to expect Rhea Ripley to go and take over. Next up was Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu in a steel cage match, and I was actually looking forward to this. I thought there was a lot of potential to be had here, but I think it ended up being the worst match of the night. It just felt very flat. It felt like a SmackDown match, especially because of the interferences and the usual 50 people having to help Solo win. And then Jimmy comes in just to get beat up, and then Solo wins anyways because it's essentially a 4v2. They try to do this thing where they hype up Jacob at the end. He does a backflip off the cage onto 2 of the members of Solo's team, and none of that matters. And to be honest, I'm really not liking the other members getting so involved with Solo all the time. I think this is going to start to be something that gets very stale, very boring, and it might affect Solo. Solo's shining right now. He's doing his own thing. He's in his own lane. He is actually carrying SmackDown for a lot of the time. But if he keeps hanging around the bums, you become a bum. That's how this industry works. And I don't care for any of these extra members, but it just feels like we're waiting for Tama Tonga to return, for Jey Uso to reconnect with Jimmy and even out the numbers. Next up was Dominic Mysterio versus AJ Styles, and I like this match, but something still fell off. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe I need to watch it again. Something still fell off. I liked both wrestlers. I liked how they both incorporated Eddie Guerrero. It felt like a tribute to Eddie Guerrero. I like how AJ came in with the car, with the lowrider, just to rattle Dominic Mysterio, and he was wearing his own version of Eddie's merch and his ring attire, all of that stuff. I loved how they did it, and it was cool to see that the crowd just magically woke up. They were just out there not doing nothing, and then they decided to cheer. People love to say that Dominic, he's so forced and all these things. Dominic and AJ were the people getting the most cheers out of any match up until this point. Dominic was getting the loudest chants up until this point. So as much as people want to say, oh, but Dominic is this, Dominic is that, he gets the industry, he's lived it, he's experienced it, he knows what he's doing, and it is what it is. All of this is organic. People didn't want him to win, and he's winning. It's simple as that. But anyways, the one problem I did have with this match, and it's not even to do with the match itself, it's in terms of a storyline perspective, which again, this is what WWE is meant to be, but they're not doing it. And it was the fact that the Judgment Day dropped the tag titles the night before. Raquel and Roxanne are no longer the tag team champions. And I thought that would kind of lead into something for this match. I don't know, maybe a Raquel and Dominic betrayal from the rest of the Judgment Day members. But no, absolutely no. Why would they bother telling an interesting story across 2 nights? I thought this 2-night thing was to bleed in some of the other stories into the following night. But now, why connect? Why connect? Now, I saw a lot of people complaining that AJ Styles should have won as well. After the Judgment Day betrays Dominic Mysterio, I'd love to actually see AJ Styles, Dominic Mysterio, maybe Raquel and Liv Morgan form their own faction. I think that would be pretty cool. Anyways, last but not least was Cody Rhodes versus John Cena, the main event of this whole thing. And this is what should have happened at WrestleMania 41, but Cody couldn't do his job and carry John Cena in a match while he was still a bit rusty. Now, this match, however, was much better than WrestleMania 41, but as is the case with most of the matches on the night, the finish was utter garbage. Remember, Triple H said we hadn't seen anything yet. So far, before this match, there was nothing of shock value. All the champions retained. So what was all the hype about? Surely it was something to do with this match. But what did we see? Nothing. Cena's face turn basically happened on the SmackDown before, instead of it happening with in-ring storytelling at SummerSlam. Cody didn't turn heel, The Rock didn't show up, there was nothing to connect Cena's heel turn in the first place to what's happening currently. There was no consequences of not being a heel anymore, and there was absolutely nothing from anything to connect anything from a storyline perspective, and it was absolutely embarrassing that Cena gave up like half of his final year for a heel run that didn't even make sense. They didn't even bother connecting the dots. It has no consequences. It has no nothing. He sacrificed his year for Triple H's shock factor with zero substance booking. Also, check out one of my videos I just made, and it's to do with how Seth Rollins' cash-in on John Cena would have connected this entire thing. It would have connected the final boss, Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman, Bron Breakker, Bronson Reed, Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, everyone. But they don't do storytelling like I do. As for what they did in the end, they gave Cody the win. He barely got a pop when he won. He was getting booed throughout the whole match. It was so underwhelming, and the worst part is, people were cheering because it was the first time technically that we see a face Cena with the title, and as soon as we get that, he loses the belt. So what was the point? And Cena, even as a heel, he was doing this whole I'm leaving with the title, blah blah blah. They couldn't even make that last until the last few months and add a bit more suspense. It was cringe having Cena do the whole passing of the torch. Let me shake your hand because you're Cody Rhodes and you're the guy that's supposed to get pushed. Mr. Propaganda, Mr. President. And as always, all the wrestlers have to shake Cody Rhodes' hand. They have to acknowledge him. They have to hug him, even if they're heel. We've seen it with Gunther. We've seen Randy Orton glaze Cody Rhodes talking about, Cody, you've done more than I've done in my whole career. Absolute garbage. We've even seen heel Brock Lesnar go and shake and embrace Cody Rhodes. What is this? And then Michael Cole, as always, slurping up Cody Rhodes off the mic. His push and his run is so artificial. It's so cringe, but people lap it up. But long term, when we do the revisionism, you'll all see it didn't make sense. All of you got baited into the whole, oh, I'm doing this for my dad. I need to win the title for my dad. Cool. But what happened after? Absolutely nothing. And what's going to happen with this new title reign? Absolutely nothing. Speaking of Brock Lesnar, by the way, he came back. He just F5'd John Cena, and that was that really. This alone would have made a lot more sense for John Cena if he won and then he gets attacked by Brock Lesnar, because it shows that Brock Lesnar wants to win. He wants to be the guy to save the company from John Cena, who wants to leave the company without the title. But remember, why would anything need to make sense? It's Triple H's booking. We can just freestyle and do whatever, hope everyone forgets, and yeah, he can still get glazed. He literally takes all of you for idiots. None of you acknowledge anything. And then you got these idiots online saying, how ungrateful. Wrestling fans just don't like anything. Well, how can we like anything if nothing makes sense? Use your brain. By the way, I'm a Brock Lesnar guy. I like what he does. He's a part-timer. You know there's aura as soon as he steps in. It's a threat to anyone whenever he's around. But it just felt kind of random. Like, oh yeah, let me go at the end and F5 John Cena. Why? John Cena doesn't even have a belt. Why are you attacking him? Like, what could the reason be? Now, it's going to be interesting to see what his actual scripted reason is. Oh, I want to ruin your goodbye. Why? Why would you want to do that? I get it's a heel thing to do, but why in particular? Why John Cena? I'm pretty sure you've given him some of the worst moments of his career. Like, it doesn't make sense. But anyways, what does make sense under Triple H? We still wonder to this day. But yeah, as always, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. What did you make of SummerSlam as a whole? Or night 1, night 2? Let me know down below in the comments. I'd appreciate if you could also hit that like button and sub to the channel. Thank you for your time.